So we're here today with Mr. Lyndon Key, the creator of the real number one Guyanese board game. So Mr. Key, tell us a little bit about your game. What was the creation process like? Where did you go to get your information and how did you go about researching?
All right, so the real number one Guyanese, it's a trivia board game. Uh, what happened is I was trying to come up with a way to sort of engage the young people at my church in our youth group in sort of a different way. So we were doing a lot of fun things, outdoor activities and whatnot. But then when we got down to trying to retain the Bible, so to speak, it I recognized there was a little deficit. So I tried to get them to do some retention, and the things that we were trying to do sort of realized that look, everything is foreign. So they started to complain and say, man, these things are a little challenging for us because they're American or Canadian or British. And I sat there and I said, so what if we had something that was local? Would you guys be interested in participating in something like that? And they were like, sure. So, I sat down and just the creative juices started to flow. I really can't take much of the credit for, the initiation. I would say it's basically a gift that God just deposited into me, and I was just the instrument. So I was literally walking down the road on my way to work, and the name came to me, the real number one Guyanese, because this game is trying to reinforce every single positive attribute of our country. With everything that's going on in our country, in the world, it's easy to find negative things. But I feel like in Guyana we don't necessarily focus on the positive things that make us a people. And we have a very proud history. We have quite an interesting history, and we are world renowned. Despite the fact that a lot of people probably think that we're kind of now in the news because of oil and gas. But Guyanese people have been making contributions to the world since the world began, even before we were Guyana. So it was sort of trying to package all of that information. So I spent a lot of nights, in front of the computer researching article after article, and it was just this nostalgic experience that every time I went to research something else, it was like I was learning all over again. So I'm saying every time you play this game, you're going to learn something new about your country. And a lot of the information is stuff that we already know, but we just probably don't have it in the forefront of our minds. So when we play this game, it starts to tickle your brain and say, hey, I know this stuff, let me sort of brush my cobweb off. And the one response that is kind of consistent with the game is that the first time a group of people play the game, they're like, hey, bring the game again, because I can brush up and I can be ready to trash this game, and that's the kind of response that I enjoy. I started this project in May of 2019, so it's been a very, very long and drawn out process, because imagine working on your own while you're doing a full-time job. I kind of had to spend a lot of nights till 3 a.m. in the morning. You're going home just to put in a little more. It's 250 cards. Each card is on a specific topic or place or thing or event. So trying to make it as interesting as possible. And what I tried to do was sort of give us a holistic approach where we're not just looking at fun facts or the history, but I tried to mix in a little bit of arithmetic, a little bit of English as well. And the questions, they're structured in such a way that you really have to kind of zoom in and pay attention, because there's a lot of misdirection there for you to sort of go in the wrong direction, to take the long way around to find the answers. So, I've come to the place where I am just looking forward to seeing this game in every single home across Guyana, and in every single Guyanese home in the diaspora, because it's really sort of just saying, I have always aspired. I consider myself to be the most patriotic Guyanese you will ever come across. So I really aspire to be able to give something back to my country. And I think a lot of Guyanese, are in that same frame of mind where you're thinking, what can I do to give back to my country? So, with this beautiful package, I feel like, every time a family or a group of children or a group of office mates, sit down to play this game, it's gonna make them feel like, hey, I need to fly the golden arrowhead loud and proud because there's so much that we can be proud of.
So tell me a little bit about the name of the game.
Right, real number one Guyanese. If you think about what it is to be Guyanese, if you ask Guyanese what makes you Guyanese, we tend to go to our culture, being a land of traditionally of 6 people, because I suppose we'll get a whole lot more people now. But it's sort of saying, look, if you are able to delve into this game and really get a holistic understanding of all the things that make us Guyanese, from our culture, our landscape, our history, the achievements that we have in sports. The whole intention is that when you have now been able to gain all of this knowledge, you can walk around loud and proud and say, hey, I'm the real number one Guyanese because I know every single thing there is to being a Guyanese, So that's kind of, trying to give you a shot in the arm and say, be the most patriotic Guyanese you can be. So every time somebody wins the game, they can say, yeah, I am the real number one Guyanese.
Okay, so in this day and age, we know there's the internet and social media, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. School children are away at home from school, and everybody's kind of caught up in social media and YouTube videos and so forth. How impactful do you think this game would be to a child?
Well, it's funny you ask the question because in this period in the world, we're overloaded, like you said, with all the different forms of social media. And this game, board games outside of Guyana, they're sort of making a comeback, so to speak. So this game is really trying to encourage us to, take a break from the norm. It's normal for us to spend time on Facebook and YouTube and so on. But here's an activity that can be a family activity. We can play it at lunchtime, at work, put the phone down and actually scratch your brain a little, and you'd be surprised how much you know about your own country. You'd be surprised how much you learn. So just take a break from the norm and go back to something that is simple yet so fun, because we don't want our children to be so focused on technology that we sort of lose an appreciation for who we are and the simpler things. Think about the days when you grew up playing Sallout and War Brick and Catcher and Chinese skipping. Life was pretty simple back then. So this game sort of tries to recreate that same kind of feeling. And I think that people might say, I'm not really interested in playing a board game, but from the time they just pass and hear somebody playing it, or they stand and see somebody else playing it, they're going to be very interested in putting their phone down.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the game and how do we play it?
Right. So the objective of the real number one Guyanese is to be the first person to collect all 5 pieces of the flag of Guyana. So once you collect the flag of Guyana, you would have won the game. How do you get the 5 pieces to win the game? So you're going along this path around the map of Guyana. You roll your die, and you don't need a 6 to start. Whatever number you roll, that's what you'll start with. So you roll the die, you count your spaces, you land on a place. There are 5 categories of questions. There is arts and culture, science and nature, history, geography, and sports. So depending on wherever you land, there will be a corresponding color. You will pick up the card for that color and you go to the question. So since the game basically brings out the golden arrowhead through and through. So let's say you land on the black space with the white lily. These are silhouettes of lilies, by the way, because everything about this game is completely Guyanese, as I said. So you land on the space with the black space with the white lily. You'll go to a black card, which is a science and nature card. So you look for the white question, and once you're able to answer the question correctly, you'll get a white token. So you need 5 white tokens to be able to get the white piece of the flag. That's one way. The other way is that since it's a multiplayer game, you might not know the answer to the question you're asked. Anybody else in the game, if they know the answer, they can steal your answer. So if I steal your answer, I immediately get to choose any color, any piece of the flag of my choice. And once you're able to do that, well, that's a faster way to be able to win the game. So you can accumulate question by question, or you can steal. Also, if you would have already, let's say I already have the green piece and I have 3 green lilies, as soon as I get 5 green lilies, I'm able to trade in my 5 green lilies for another color that I don't have. So there are a couple of ways to try to, come to winning the game. I tried to make it not very long, so I would say between 35 to 45 minutes you'll be able to win the game.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about some of the features. I see you have the Ask Your Granny, Wait Right Here, and Take a Breezer. Tell us a little bit about those.
Right, so those spaces, what I tried to do is kind of take us back to the language that we speak every day, Creolese.
Yeah.
And if we know that's a language by itself, but because we don't necessarily write it in schools and so on, it's, we kind of undervalue it, so to speak. So what those spaces are doing, there's special spaces on the board. So Take a Breezer, you're doing just what it says. If you play and you land on Take a Breezer, you'll be breezing out. You won't be answering any questions, giving yourself a break. If you land on Wait Right Here, then unfortunately you'll be missing your current turn and the next turn. So you have to go 2 turns and watch everybody else play before you can partake again. I think by far the favorite spot to land on is Ask Your Granny. Ask Your Granny, is kind of a little tribute to my own grandmother, because if you think about the Guyanese grandmother or grandfather, you go to them concerning any question you have, and they always seem to have the answer. So that's the whole thought behind Ask Your Granny, that if you land on the Ask Your Granny space, you get an Ask Your Granny card. With the Ask Your Granny card, the next time you land on a space and you don't know the answer to that question, you can play your Ask Your Granny card. You basically get the answer free and you get to play again.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about who is Lyndon Key.
So I'd like to think Lyndon Key is a pretty simple guy, quiet. As a Christian, you tend to sit back in society and not try to have your face in everything or have your ears in everything. So I spend a lot of my time at church, whether it be in youth group or doing something else. And other than church, I love to be with my family. That's where the majority of my time goes, because my wife and I, we have 3 daughters, and my eldest daughter, she loves the outdoors. So every opportunity we get, we are always looking to have a family activity, whether it be going camping or we go to the national park and just enjoy each other's company. Her favorite thing to do is to have a picnic. So she's always asking me, Daddy, when are we going for the next picnic? Besides spending time with my family when I was a little younger, I spent a lot of my time playing cricket, because I love cricket. I love sports in general. You could have found me at any one of the grounds, be it in Georgetown or Berbice, just partaking in my favorite pastime. Besides those things, professionally, I am a videographer, editor for Gaisuko, the Guyana Sugar Corporation. And between those things, there's not much else to say. I don't go out. I don't have an appreciation for too many crowds, and so with the exception of maybe when cricket comes to Guyana, you can't miss the CPL, you can't miss cricket period. That's me.
Okay, so Mr. Cave, what has the journey been like? Can we say when we'll be seeing this game on the markets and so forth? Right,
so you can imagine it's sort of like feeling your way out, because obviously we don't have anything like this in Guyana, and I think you'd be hard pressed to find anything like this in this part of the region, even in the Caribbean. So I'm sort of like cutting a new path. Everything I do sort of like feels like it's being done for the first time, and that is quite difficult. I've put a year of my time into this project, and in Guyana, there are quite a few challenges in trying to publish a board game. Period. Regardless of what that game might be about. Obviously, unfortunately, the most difficult thing to access is venture capital. I don't feel like, economically we're set up. While we probably talk about it, we haven't necessarily done the things that are required for the opportunities to exist readily for our young people, to be entrepreneurs, to be innovative and creative and, think outside the box. So at this point, I'm actually trying to have this game on the market for Christmas 2020. But in getting there, I haven't been able to sort of access venture capital. I haven't been able to access the finances. So it's kind of just trying to come up with creative ways. How do I get this money together? Of course, you can't print a game like this in Guyana. You can't print it in the Caribbean. You have to go to China. So at this point, I'm trying to raise $5 million to be able to do the first print run. So that's for about 1,500 to 2,000 copies. And I'm confident that I'll be able to get the money together. So what I basically do is go around and sort of show the game to people, ask them if they'll try it and sort of get their feedback. And then I ask them if they want to invest in it. So, at this point, trying to get at least 50 investors at $100,000, that'll give you $5 million. So far it's going well. I have about half of the people on board, but that's for that amount. As it were, if I were able to access finance, then we could do a larger amount. And I believe it is envisaged that once the game is actually published, once it's readily available, people will come. And we have the whole diaspora. At this point, I'm kind of wary of telling people, oh, the game is not available for you to purchase as yet, because you keep getting the question, when will it be available? When will it be available? So I would like to go out on a limb and say, it will be ready for Christmas 2020, and I hope people have a grand time with it.
Okay, so what about having it involved in the classroom?
Right, so I believe this game is tailor-made for the school environment. What I tried to do in researching the content for the game, I tried to align it as closely as I can to the secondary school curriculum. So we're a sort of textbook-oriented society, and for all of your school life, you're going through a series of textbooks. So here I'm saying to the education system, how about we put a different spin on it? The same content that you'll find in the textbook, we condense it into questions. So if you have the students play this game, it's just another way for them to be able to be exposed to the information. And I believe that this is a good model to allow them to be able to retain whatever it is that they're exposed to. So ideally, I would like to see this become a national, a regional inter-school competition. The game is ideally for children from 11 years up. So I would love to see this in the classrooms becoming a national school, inter-school competition, and then regional competition, of course, with the other versions, because Azira Games is not a one-trick pony, so to speak. I do have other games lined up. It's just a matter of sort of getting this first one out to the gate, and then the others will follow.
Okay, Mr. Cave, before we end, is there anything you'd like to say to the public? Anything you'd like to share with us additionally?
Right, so I would definitely ask the public to, one, when this game comes out, make sure you have it in your home. Don't be reduced to being on the sidelines and hear your neighbor having a grand time. Make sure you get yourself a copy. Other than that, I'd like to encourage Guyanese. These are the sort of things that we need to encourage our young people to do. To not just follow a kind of a streamlined approach, but let them think outside the box. Let us be creative. bring your creative juices to the top. And despite the obstacles that are there, you know, there are many, but just keep on pushing through. I'm sure there are other young people that have things that they've been, you know, trying to get done, and they sort of probably have it in a corner somewhere. So I just want to encourage us as a people, as Guyanese, more so to, you know, follow your passion, despite whatever obstacles there are, keep pushing through. And also, if anybody wants to invest in the real number one Guyanese or the other games that we have lined up, sure, I'm on board to bring everybody on, and let's make it a profitable venture.